A new day and yet another not so great IU basketball recruiting update.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, guys? It is Tuesday, August 9th. This is Locked On Hoosiers, your one and only daily one-stop shop for everything IU athletics. I'm your host, as always, Jacob Rude. Want to thank you guys for stopping in and making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen every single day. Look, IU's in a bit of a rut when it comes to recruiting. There's highs, there's lows in it. IU certainly experienced the highs right away under Mike Woodson. Now they're in a little bit of the low. We talked on Monday's episode about them missing out on Jamie Kaiser. Today, TJ Power, who is someone we mentioned yesterday that IU might now turn their focus to with Kaiser out of the picture. TJ Power announces his top 5. It does not include Indiana. It included Duke, Virginia, UNC, Boston College, and Iowa. Hoosiers on the outside looking in. Putting it in perspective, Power was kind of the fourth option. We mentioned Kaiser, Deshaun Harris-Smith, and Arrington Page were the three guys it seemed like they were putting priorities on. So Power wasn't someone IU was going the hardest at, but he was still someone Indiana had prioritized and someone that is really rising up prospect boards this summer. And Indiana misses out on him. It's another target kind of skipping out on Indiana. It's a bit of a rut right now. I think at this point what this means for Indiana is, at least during the fall, it's kind of Arrington Page or bust for the fall. And we've talked a lot about Page, a big man who seems like had a pretty good visit in Bloomington. Someone the Hoosiers have maybe gone the hardest at during this kind of late summer, fall time period. I think Kaiser's also someone they went pretty hard at outside of Xavier Booker, though. Obviously, we've talked a lot about him. The Hoosiers are on the outside looking in on him. So what I think is probably going to happen is the Hoosiers are going to go hard after Page for this 2023 class. He said he wanted to make a decision basically this fall. He's not going to rush it, but he did say kind of early or during the falls when he's looking to make a decision. You go hard after him, and then you wait. You wait for the portal. You wait for the spring. It's not there's a couple reasons. Not all hope is lost. I know yesterday, for those on YouTube, saw the thumbnail, time to worry, ? Probably didn't do a great job of answering that own question. I don't think it is time to worry. We've mentioned a couple times they already had 2 recruits locked up really early. It's 2 4-star recruits, Gabe Cupps, Ja'Kai Newton. That alone, really good class. Now, we thought it was a really good foundation of a class. It might be the whole class. But at the same time, we've seen, the Hoosiers got Malik Renault entirely out of nowhere last year because he decommitted during the spring. So there are options there. I think something else that IU is probably going to have to do in the spring is recruit the transfer portal. And I think that's just part of college athletics now. You have to recruit the transfer portal as well as you recruit, or maybe as hard as you recruit prospects and high schoolers. You don't do it year round. There's a very kind of pretty finite window that you recruit the transfer portal, but the Hoosiers might be a little more active in it at the end of the season now, depending on how things shake out, who commits, things like that. Indiana wasn't really active in it this year. They were obviously last year. This year they weren't really active in it because they brought everybody back and they had a strong recruiting class coming in. They didn't need to really go hard after anybody. That might change looking toward next season. So right now, I think it's Arrington Page or bust for this fall. We're going to have Jason Jordan on tomorrow's podcast to talk recruiting, kind of get his thoughts on Kaiser and Powers skipping out on the Hoosiers, and then talk some future recruits that the Hoosiers are targeting. So look forward to that one. Be sure you guys tune into that one. No, the main takeaway, don't worry. I still think Mike Woodson is a great recruiter. You're not going to land every recruit that you target, every recruit that you go after. It felt like it for a while, but that is not the case. So the Hoosiers, I think, are perfectly fine right now. Even if you kind of project forward after the season, you're looking at a lineup of Jalen Hood-Schifino, Tamar Bates. The small forward spot might be a spot where they target in the transfer portal, but you could even go Trey Galloway, Jordan Geronimo, Malik Renault as a starting five, and that's a really good starting five. Depth might not be there, certainly as much as it is this year, but as frustrating as the last maybe two and a half weeks since Xavier Booker's decision, as frustrating as that has been, and especially as frustrating as the last 2 days have been, kind of got to keep things in perspective. IU's still in a really good spot. They're still a top 15 team heading into next season, and they're in a really good position. So not all hope is lost. There's still plenty of optimism to go around, but it is back-to-back losses on recruits Indiana prioritized, and that is going to sting. It's fair to say these last 2 days have stung when it comes to IU basketball recruiting. Big Ten looks like they may have a media deal close to being finalized. We're going to give you all the details we have on that here in a moment. First, though, we got to tell you about our awesome sponsors, LinkedIn. As you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then you can add your job and your purple hiring frame to your own LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so that your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? So post your job over at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege for free. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job offer or post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks again, guys, for making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen every single day. Big Ten, by the time you're listening to this, it might be announced. There might be more details. It kind of came about pretty quickly on Monday night, but the Big Ten looks like it's pretty close to a media deal. First reported that the deal is close by John Urand. I don't know if I pronounced that right, of Sports Business Journal, that it is CBS and NBC, a little surprisingly, that are going to kind of split the remaining part of the media rights. So we knew that Fox had effectively the A tier of media rights, the right to first refusal, all that stuff. Fox has majority share of the media rights. It was the other chunk that they were offering out. Sounds like it's CBS and NBC going to split it all up. Fox will carry a football game. This is all from the Sports Business Journal article. Fox will carry a football game on the broadcast network at noon, plus the football games on its cable channels FS1 and BTN. It holds a 60% stake in those. So not surprising, we knew all of that part. The part that we did not know about CBS would pick up games for the 3:30 p.m. Eastern time window, and NBC would carry games in prime time. NBC's streaming service, Peacock, also would wind up carrying some games. So your Big Ten After Dark might be on Peacock moving forward. But the way it's shaping up, unless something drastic happens or already happened, so it's going to be the first time in 40 years ESPN would not have Big Ten on their network, which is notable. Brett McMurphy of The Athletic kind of seconded this report a little while after it came out, just to add any kind of assurance to it. Andrew Marchand of the New York Post said that CBS is going to be paying $350 million annually for those 3:30 games, which is a wild idea to think about. They are paying for one game a week for 13 weeks a year, and $350 million. There is probably some basketball stuff tied into this. If we're being honest, nobody really reports on the basketball coverage aspect of it. Hopefully that will come out, but they're paying for the football is what everybody's paying for, and you figure out the other stuff later. So $350 million annually for those 3:30 games gives you a sense of the numbers we're going to be talking about here, because 350 for one game basically is absurd, and this TV deal is going to be wild. Obviously, the 3:30 game, I would think, would be one of the more popular time spots. Saturday afternoon, everybody's staying at home. 3:30 is kind of the time everybody's there, outside of maybe prime time. But on a Saturday, I would think 3:30 would be the real prime time if we're talking about it. So that's probably why CBS picked that and paid that. What does this mean for the Big Ten and Indiana? Streaming is something that Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren talked about. He wanted things to be more accessible. With all due respect to Big Ten Network, is not accessible. It is a pain in the butt to try to watch those sporting events. So putting it on Peacock, which is a service a lot of people have, putting games there for NBC would be interesting and potentially open up to more customers, whether it is football games, hopefully basketball games, something we've talked about in the past, just putting everything on there and it's not behind paywalls, specifically women's basketball games. Like, if I'm being honest, I don't want to buy a Big Ten Network Plus subscription to watch 6 or 7, 8 women's basketball games. I think you need to be putting that on NBC, Peacock, put it on your station so that it gets more exposure. But that is a soapbox that we will save for when we know more details about this agreement. But these are some huge numbers being thrown around. Like I said, $350 million for those 3:30 games. This is, if I had to guess, it's going to come in around, I think, between $1.5 and $2 billion. Probably closer to that 1.5 figure. They were already going to clear $1 billion before adding UCLA, USC, and the LA market. It's really going to determine how valuable that market is, and it's pretty damn valuable. It's Los Angeles. So this is going to be an astronomical deal, and it's so much money that it's going to change a lot of things for these schools and these programs. So we may see more renovations like we saw at Assembly Hall, though I doubt we have that. Maybe some stuff to Memorial Stadium, maybe new facilities. I'm not really sure what's left to build, but maybe there's always things people are thinking about. So we will see, but huge money, huge deal, both literally and figuratively, to be getting this media deal close. So once we get some final numbers, maybe some more clarity on the not football portion of this, as I'm sure most of you guys are far more interested in hearing about how this will impact basketball games, we'll bring that to you. But looks like NBC, CBS, and Fox are going to be splitting the media rights deal moving forward. Pro Football Focus released their preseason all Big Ten team. It included a Hoosier. You guys can probably guess who, but we will reveal that here in just a moment. There are a few places I maybe trust or respect their kind of rankings or their grades or anything more than Pro Football Focus. We talked about their grades all last season. It's something I really rely upon. So when there's a Hoosier on the first team, that feels like a big deal to me. First team all defense. This in the Pro Football Focus has 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, 2 cornerbacks, 2 safeties, and a flex defensive player. And this year, the flex defensive player is Tiawan Mullen on the preseason Pro Football Focus all Big Ten first team. The only Hoosier listed on any of the teams, DJ Turner of Michigan, Riley Moss of Iowa were the 2 cornerbacks that made it over him. But Tiawan Mullen getting first team honors is a really big deal, really, really awesome to see. Ohio State dominated on the offensive side first team. CJ Stroud, Travion Henderson, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, DeJuan Jones, Matthew Jones, all earned first team honors, and that was just on the defense. So that gives you a sense. If you've listened to us on Locked On Big Ten, we've made it pretty clear we think Ohio State is far and away the best team in the conference this season, and a lot of this shows. Now, while there were no Hoosiers listed on the first, second, or third team outside of Mullen, there were some honorable mentions. DJ Matthews, honorable mention, wide receiver. Luke Haggard, honorable mention, offensive tackle. Jaylin Williams, honorable mention, cornerback. Devon Matthews, honorable mention, safety. Charles Campbell, honorable mention, kicker. So this is effectively kind of fourth team. The way they set it up, they just didn't call it fourth team. It's the same format. So you're looking at these guys, DJ Matthews as one of the 10 best wide receivers in the conference, roughly, maybe a little bit outside of that. Luke Haggard as one of the 8 best offensive tackles in the conference. Jaylin Williams, one of the 8 best cornerbacks. So IU has 2 of the top 8 cornerbacks based on Pro Football Focus, which I didn't look this up beforehand, but I can't imagine many others have that. So we've talked about this secondary and how good we think they're going to be, and this kind of shows it. Nobody else has 2 top 8 cornerbacks on here. Just skimming at it, it's only IU. So IU may have the best secondary between that and Devon Matthews being on there as well. IU very well might have the best secondary in the Big Ten this season. So that is what they're going to have to lean on and what they're going to have to use as a strength this year. And hopefully it shows itself as a strength. It's hard for one unit defensively to have a big impact. For example, if you're not getting a pass rush, it doesn't really matter how good your secondary is. At some point, somebody's going to get open. So it's a team effort, but IU has one of the strongest units in the conference anchoring that defense with the secondary. Charles Campbell as well was named honorable mention kicker. Going to be interesting to see. He's as automatic as they get on extra points. See if he can round back into form a little bit on field goals. That a little shaky last season after being pretty automatic before that. So some love for the Hoosiers, particularly defensively, and a couple DJ Matthews and Luke Haggard on the offense. Going to be fun to watch that defense this upcoming season. Thanks again, guys, for making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen every single day. We're going to be back with you tomorrow with the recruiting show with Jason Jordan, as we said, talking Power and Kaiser, skipping out on IU and the Hoosiers turning their attention to Page, and then talk about couple top prospects that are considering the Hoosiers in the in the future classes, I should say. So we'll look at all that tomorrow, get some insight from Jason. If you guys missed last week's episode with him, it was really, really good. The first segment is a little dated now because we talked about Page, Deshaun Harris-Smith, both guys, or Kaiser and Deshaun Harris-Smith, both guys who kind of out of the picture for IU now. So you can listen to what we had to say about Page, but you can definitely listen to what we had to say about Cups and Ja'Kai Newton, two guys who are already committed and give IU a really, really strong base foundation of this recruiting class. So know what your team is up against across the Big Ten with Locked On Big Ten. Every day, host Nate Dickinson and the local experts of Locked On take you across the Big Ten in 30 minutes. Make Locked On Big Ten your second listen. Locked On Big Ten. Be sure to follow us on Twitter if you guys have not already at LO_Hoosiers. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to it, whether it's on YouTube, where we're growing every day. I keep saying that. We're growing. The whole Locked On network is really taking off on YouTube, so join in over there, or if it's whatever app you're using to listen to. And if it's available, leave a rating and review on the podcast. That, more than anything, helps us out. It's really quick, guys. I know I say this all the time. It's super quick. Just tap that 5-star rating. You don't have to leave a review. I would love it if you did, but just tap that 5-star rating. Help us out as we head into football season here and really dive into our coverage. Thanks again, guys, for listening. Hope you all have a fantastic Tuesday, and LEO.